The afternoon sun shone brightly over the quiet suburban street, casting long, warm shadows on the neatly trimmed lawns. Birds chirped lazily from the towering oaks lining the sidewalks, and the faint hum of distant traffic drifted through the air. It was a typical, peaceful afternoon in a small, close-knit neighborhood in the United States, where everyone knew each other by name. Children's laughter rang out from the yards, and neighbors waved from their porches. But for 3-year-old Lily, this ordinary day was about to become anything but ordinary, a day that would leave the entire community in awe. Lily was a small, wiry child with big, inquisitive brown eyes and a mop of curly hair that bounced with every step. Her tiny hands clutched a well-worn stuffed bunny, a constant companion in her daily adventures. She was playing near the flower beds of her front yard, happily scattering petals from the bright tulips her mother had planted that morning. Her giggles rang out like music, pure and innocent, completely oblivious to the world beyond her little patch of sunlight. Meanwhile, down the street, Officer Daniels was conducting a routine patrol with Rex, his K-9 partner. Rex was a powerful German shepherd, sleek and muscular, with a reputation for his intelligence, loyalty, and, when necessary, fierce protection instincts. He was one of the department's most trusted K-9 officers, trained to respond to danger with lightning speed. Today, Officer Daniels had been finishing a controlled training exercise, testing Rex's response to commands and scenarios that might arise on duty. It was meant to be routine, uneventful, and contained. However, as Rex's keen nose picked up on the scents in the air, his alertness increased. A neighborhood cat, bold and unafraid, darted across the street, its sudden movement causing Rex to stiffen and focus. Officer Daniels, recognizing the subtle signs of potential escalation, gripped the leash tightly, guiding Rex's movements with practiced precision. "Easy, boy," he murmured. But Rex's instincts were finely tuned. Any unexpected motion could trigger a reaction before the handler had time to intervene. And in that moment, Lily, blissfully unaware, wandered a few steps closer to the scene than anyone expected. Her mother, watching from the open window, had only a moment to notice. "Lily, honey, stay there," she called, but her voice barely carried over the distance and the rustling leaves. The tiny girl, enchanted by the way the sunlight sparkled across the grass and the gentle sway of her bunny in her hand, didn't hear a word. Her small feet carried her closer, curiosity guiding her steps. She had no sense of danger, no understanding of the tension building around her. To her, it was just another adventure, another game to play in the endless expanse of her front yard. Suddenly, the neighborhood's peaceful rhythm was pierced by a sound that made hearts skip. Rex's ears twitched, his body tensing, and his growl was low but audible, a warning that the trained officer recognized instantly. The neighbors, noticing the alert stance of the imposing K-9, stopped their conversations mid-sentence. Some held their children closer, instinctively shielding them, while others froze in place, eyes wide with disbelief. This was Rex at his most alert, his senses scanning the small figure of a child standing just a few feet away, completely unaware of the danger, or perceived danger, he detected. Officer Daniels' heart raced. Years of experience had taught him that even the most controlled situations could spiral in an instant when a K-9 was involved. His hand tightened on the leash as he called, "Rex, stay." The command was sharp but calm, designed to prevent any sudden movement. Rex's body quivered, caught between instinct and obedience, between the training ingrained in him for countless hours and the unexpected presence of a tiny, fearless human who didn't even flinch at his size. Lily paused, noticing the dog for the first time. His massive frame and intense gaze might have frightened another child, but Lily's curiosity outweighed any fear. She stepped forward slightly, clutching her bunny. "Hi, doggy," she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. It was a sound so innocent, so gentle, that even the onlookers felt their hearts loosen. Officer Daniels, trained to anticipate reactions, was momentarily stunned. Nothing in his years of experience had prepared him for the sight of a 3-year-old standing unafraid before Rex. her tiny face bright with curiosity and calm. Then came the words that would change everything. "It's okay," Lily said. Just 2 words spoken with clarity and a quiet confidence that seemed almost impossible for a child so small. The air seemed to shift as the words reached Rex. The dog's ears twitched, his head tilting slightly, his muscles relaxing fractionally. Officer Daniels blinked, unsure if he should even trust what he was seeing. The neighbors, many of whom had watched K9 demonstrations and feared for the child's safety, gasped audibly. For a moment, time itself seemed suspended, the ordinary afternoon holding its breath. Rex, the fierce and disciplined K9, hesitated. He took a tentative step forward, then stopped, sniffing the air around Lily. His tail, once rigid with alertness, twitched slightly. The crowd could hardly believe their eyes. Had the child somehow calmed the dog? Officer Daniels, moving cautiously, approached a step closer, his voice calm but firm. "Good boy, Rex," he murmured, hopping to maintain the fragile balance. The dog's eyes never left Lily, and she, in turn, looked directly into his gaze, her small hand outstretched as if offering friendship instead of fear. It was a moment that no one in the neighborhood would ever forget. The tension that had gripped everyone dissolved slowly, replaced by awe and disbelief. The ordinary suburban street had become the setting for something extraordinary, a display of innocence, bravery, and the unexplainable power a child can have over even the most disciplined of animals. Neighbors whispered among themselves, some with tears in their eyes, all feeling the weight of the scene. Lily's mother, now rushing outside, called her daughter's name again, panic and relief mixing in her voice. But Lily didn't flinch. She smiled at her mother, then back at Rex, who had lowered his body slightly, almost as if bowing to her courage. Officer Daniels carefully stepped closer, hands still on the leash, amazed at the display before him. This wasn't just a routine training exercise gone slightly awry. This was something unique, something magical, a bond forming in real time between a toddler and a K9, a moment that would be remembered and retold for years. Even the sunlight seemed to linger a little longer that afternoon, casting golden rays over the unfolding scene. The quiet neighborhood, usually so predictable, had been transformed into the stage for an extraordinary encounter. People began to pull out their phones, capturing the moment they knew would soon circulate far beyond. No one dared speak too loudly, as if that might break the spell. All anyone could do was watch. Watch a 3-year-old girl face a police dog. Watch the dog respond with an unexpected gentleness, and watch the world realize that sometimes courage and calmness come in the smallest packages. And in that moment, Lily, unaware of the story she was creating, simply smiled at the massive dog in front of her, repeating once more in that tiny, confident voice, "It's okay." The words, innocent and unassuming, would echo far beyond the suburban street, leaving everyone who witnessed them forever changed. The neighborhood stood frozen, collectively holding its breath. All eyes were on Lily, a tiny figure radiating an unexpected confidence, and Rex, the imposing police dog, now locked in an almost hypnotic standoff. It was a moment of tension and wonder, the kind that could make adults question reality. Officer Daniels, trained for high-stakes scenarios, had never encountered anything like this in his years of service. The dog had been primed to react, to defend or pursue on command, yet here he was, hesitant, almost reverent, before a 3-year-old child who had spoken only 2 words. "It's okay." Lily's voice, soft yet unwavering, seemed to ripple through the space between her and Rex. She took a small step forward, her bare feet sinking slightly into the warm grass. Her stuffed bunny, clutched tightly in one hand, bobbed as she moved. Every instinct told adults that this was dangerous. Rex was a trained protector, a creature of habit and alertness, capable of incredible speed and strength. One wrong move could have turned a peaceful afternoon into chaos. Yet Lily, unaware of the fear surrounding her, seemed to be communicating something only Rex could understand, a silent signal of calm, trust, and bravery. Neighbors murmured in disbelief. How is she not scared? one whispered, her hand covering her mouth. I would never get that close, another said, voice trembling. Some crouched to shield their younger children, fearing the worst. Others, unable to look away, watched as Lily extended her free hand slowly, deliberately, as if she were reaching out to an old friend rather than a massive, disciplined K9. The tension was tangible, like a string stretched taut, ready to snap with the slightest provocation. Yet instead of snapping, the string seemed to vibrate with a strange harmony between child and dog. Officer Daniels edged closer, still keeping a firm hand on Rex's leash. His voice, calm and measured, reassured the dog without breaking the fragile bond forming. "Easy, Rex," he said, his eyes scanning the surroundings for any signs of sudden danger. Rex's muscles relaxed fractionally, his growl softened into a low rumble, almost contemplative. The dog's instinctive training battled with the aura of calm emanating from Lily. She had no fear in her eyes, only curiosity and an almost mystical sense of trust. It was the kind of confidence that could disarm even the most disciplined protector. And in this unusual duel of instincts, the child's courage was winning. Then Lily did something no one expected. She knelt down slightly, keeping her eyes on Rex, and whispered again, "It's okay." The repetition, gentle and melodic, seemed to melt the invisible barrier between them. Rex's tail twitched slowly, a subtle sign that the rigid tension in his body was giving way. The neighbors could hardly believe it. Some gasped audibly, tears forming in their eyes. Here was a 3-year-old girl facing a powerful police dog trained to sense threats, and somehow, miraculously, she had calmed him. It was more than unusual. It was extraordinary. As the seconds stretched into minutes, the atmosphere shifted. Fear gave way to awe. Children watching from nearby yards leaned closer, mimicking Lily's gentle gestures, while adults whispered in disbelief, unable to explain what they were witnessing. Phones and cameras appeared everywhere as people began recording the moment, realizing instinctively that this was a story worth capturing. Officer Daniels, usually the center of control, felt a rare twinge of helpless amazement. All his training had prepared him for scenarios involving danger and obedience, but nothing could have prepared him for this. A child's pure courage and innocence influencing a trained K9 in real time. Rex finally took a deliberate step forward, slow and measured. His paws pressed against the warm asphalt, and his massive frame cast a long shadow across the yard. Lily stayed perfectly still, holding out her hand like an offering of friendship rather than fear. The crowd collectively exhaled, relief washing over them in waves. For the first time, the dog was close enough that his nose almost touched Lily's tiny hand. Officer Daniels whispered under his breath, "Stay calm, stay calm," marveling at the harmony developing between child and dog. Every muscle in Rex's body was relaxed, every sense alert yet controlled, a perfect balance that no human command could have achieved. Neighbors were on edge, unsure whether to step in or remain frozen. But Lily's confidence radiated outward, contagious in its subtle power. Even the adults felt the calming effect, their hearts slowing, the adrenaline of fear replaced with awe. The quiet hum of the afternoon returned, punctuated by the soft rustling of leaves in the gentle breeze. Birds chirped again, as if acknowledging the extraordinary scene unfolding below. Lily giggled softly, the sound like wind chimes, and Rex responded almost instinctively, nudging her hand gently with his nose. It was not play and it was not training. It was a silent conversation of trust, an unspoken bond crossing the species barrier. Officer Daniels, now cautiously lowering the leash, allowed Rex to sit beside Lily. The dog's eyes were warm, alert but friendly, and his massive head rested lightly against her small hand. Lily patted him gently, her small fingers running along his fur with innocent delight. "You're a good boy," she murmured, her voice almost lost in the awestruck murmurs of the crowd. Neighbors began clapping softly, some moved to tears by the scene. This was no longer a routine patrol or a potential incident. It was a lesson in courage, innocence, and the extraordinary way a child could influence a fully grown, highly trained K9. The scene drew more attention as a neighbor ran inside to grab her phone. Within moments, videos of Lily and Rex began circulating online, shared in private messages, then public social media posts. Comments poured in. How can a child calm a police dog like that? Unbelievable. Such a brave little girl. This is magical. Experts would later say that what had happened normal behavior patterns for both toddlers and K-9 officers. Dogs are highly sensitive to fear and dominance signals, yet Lily radiated only calm and assurance, tapping into instincts that few humans could reach. Meanwhile, Lily's mother finally reached the yard, breathless and panic-stricken, only to stop short when she saw her daughter kneeling beside the massive dog. Relief and disbelief collided on her face. "Lily, oh my God, honey, stay back," she called, her voice quivering. But Lily simply smiled at her mother, then back at Rex, still confident and unafraid. The mother ran to her daughter, cautiously but grateful that no harm had occurred. Officer Daniels stood back, amazed, realizing that the situation had diffused entirely without any aggression. He marveled at the child's innate bravery and the dog's instinctive response. Rex, once a symbol of strength and alertness, had transformed into a gentle giant under Lily's influence. The crowd watched, silent but mesmerized, as the dog allowed Lily to pat him, lay a small hand on his head, and speak softly. The air was thick with emotion, a mixture of relief, astonishment, and joy. It was an extraordinary sight, innocence meeting experience, courage meeting instinct, and a 3-year-old shaping the behavior of a powerful animal trained for protection and danger. Everyone realized that what they had witnessed was rare, perhaps once in a lifetime. As the minutes passed, the energy in the neighborhood shifted. Curiosity replaced fear, awe replaced anxiety, and smiles spread across faces. Officer Daniels finally knelt beside Rex and Lily, gently explaining to the onlookers, "He's usually very reactive, but she's special." Rex leaned into Lily one last time before allowing Officer Daniels to guide him back toward the patrol car. Lily waved at the neighbors, still clutching her bunny, unaware of the story she had already begun to create. It was a moment frozen in time, destined to be remembered, recorded, and shared, inspiring off far beyond the quiet street inn. Even after Rex and Officer Daniels departed, the neighborhood buzzed with conversation. Children reenacted the encounter in yards, neighbors discussed what had happened, and parents marveled at the little girl who had faced a police dog without fear. What had started as a normal, sunny afternoon had become something extraordinary, a demonstration of courage, trust, and the unexpected power of a child's calm presence over even the most disciplined and instinctual animals. And for Lily, it was just another adventure, one that she would later hear retold countless times, each retelling capturing a little more of the magic of that day. The sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across the quiet street, but no one seemed to notice. The neighborhood had gathered, lingering at their fences and windows, drawn by the remarkable encounter unfolding between a 3-year-old girl and a massive, highly trained K-9. Lily, still clutching her worn bunny, knelt patiently beside Rex, the police dog who had gone from tense protector to gentle guardian under her calm presence. Every eye in the crowd was glued to the small, fearless child, and every adult's heartbeat seemed to echo the awe they felt at the unfolding miracle. Officer Daniels, crouched nearby, kept a vigilant hand on Rex's leash, yet he couldn't help but marvel at what was happening. Years of experience told him that Rex, trained for protection and threat detection, should have reacted aggressively to a sudden, unplanned approach from a child. Yet here he was, sitting quietly, his massive body calm, his eyes soft, as if fully aware that Lily posed no danger. It was as if the dog recognized something intangible in the tiny girl, some unspoken signal of trust and bravery that even a human handler might have missed. Neighbors whispered among themselves, some covering their mouths to stifle gasps, others simply staring, unable to comprehend what they were witnessing. "How can a child calm a police dog like that?" one woman murmured, her voice shaking with disbelief. Another man shook his head, murmuring, "I've seen Rex in action. He would never just sit next to anyone. This is unbelievable." Even children from nearby yards peeked over fences, their eyes wide with curiosity and awe. For a few moments, the entire neighborhood seemed to exist solely to witness this extraordinary meeting of innocence and instinct. Lily reached out with her small hand, brushing her fingers along Rex's thick fur. The dog leaned into her touch, nudging her gently with his nose, and she giggled, a pure melodic sound that seemed to brighten the air around them. The tension that had gripped everyone moments before was gone, replaced by a strange mixture of wonder and relief. The crowd collectively exhaled, as if breathing had been suspended during the suspense. It was a moment that would linger in memory, a story that would be retold for years to come. Officer Daniels spoke quietly to the gathering neighbors. "I've been working with Rex for 5 years," he said. "He's highly trained, very disciplined. He reacts quickly to threats, but I've never seen him behave like this. Lily, she's extraordinary." His voice carried awe and disbelief. The dog, sensing the calm authority in his handler, remained beside Lily without a hint of aggression. It was as if Rex had made a choice, understanding instinctively that this tiny human posed no threat and deserved only his gentle attention. The connection between them was almost tangible, an invisible thread binding child and canine. For Lily, the encounter was simple. She patted Rex's head softly, whispered, "It's okay," and giggled when he nudged her bunny gently with his nose. She had no understanding of the spectacle she had created, no awareness of the hundreds of astonished eyes watching her. To her, it was a game, a chance to make a new friend. But the simplicity of her actions, her calm confidence in the face of a potentially intimidating animal, had captured the hearts of everyone present. Adults were left questioning how a child so small could evoke trust in a creature trained for danger. The neighbors' reactions were a mix of awe, fear, and disbelief. Some, still holding their children close, couldn't stop talking about the bravery of the little girl. Others were on the verge of tears, amazed at the extraordinary bond forming between child and dog. Phones and cameras clicked and recorded, capturing the slow, careful movements of Rex as he leaned into Lily's touch. Social media would soon be ablaze with the story, but at that moment, no one cared about fame or virality. Everyone was too caught up in the pure, unfiltered magic of the encounter. As the minutes passed, Rex shifted slightly, his powerful body settling on the ground beside Lily. He rested his massive head gently on her knee, his eyes half closed, a picture of trust and serenity. Officer Daniels, feeling both pride and astonishment, finally let go of the leash enough to allow the dog some freedom. He remained close, ready for any sudden movement, yet the tension had all but vanished. The dog's obedience was no longer driven solely by training. It was influenced by something more profound, the courage and innocence radiating from a tiny human being. The crowd whispered among themselves, recounting moments of the encounter over and over. Parents were already imagining telling their children about the brave little girl who had faced a trained police dog and calmed him with 2 simple words. "It's okay," they murmured in awe, as if repeating the mantra might give them insight into how such a small phrase could have such a powerful effect. It was a lesson in courage, communication, and trust, lessons adults often struggled to teach, yet Lily embodied them naturally, instinctively. Then came another shift. A small breeze rustled the trees, carrying with it the scent of freshly mown grass and spring flowers. Birds chirped overhead, as if celebrating the unusual peace that had settled over the street. Lily, sensing the gentle mood of the moment, leaned closer to Rex, whispering again, "It's okay." The dog closed his eyes briefly, sighing softly, a sound that was almost imperceptible but seemed to convey relief, understanding, and connection. It was more than obedience. It was a bond forming between species, a rare interaction that could not be forced, only nurtured by trust and courage. Officer Daniels knelt beside Rex and Lily, cautiously observing. "She's got away with him," he said quietly to no one in particular. "I've never seen anything like it in my entire career." The dog, still calm and obedient, remained seated beside Lily, a living testament to her bravery and composure. Neighbors recorded every second, some holding back tears, others whispering prayers of gratitude. Even Lily's mother, now standing at the edge of the yard, watched in awe, her fear replaced by relief and pride. Her daughter had faced a massive police dog, and one not with force or intimidation, but with calm courage. The story didn't end there. Rex, still seated beside Lily, allowed her to pat his head, stroke his back, and even adjust his ears with gentle fingers. The child's laughter filled the air, blending with the murmurs of astonishment from the crowd. Officer Daniels marveled at the rare sight, a toddler who had no concept of fear or danger, commanding the respect and trust of a highly trained K9. It was a moment that explanation, an encounter that would soon ripple far beyond the borders of, inspiring parents, children, and animal lovers alike. As the sun dipped lower, casting golden light over the street, neighbors began to slowly disperse, still talking about what they had witnessed. Children reenacted the encounter in backyards, parents shared videos, and friends called each other to recount the magical moment. Lily, meanwhile, remained entirely oblivious to the fame she was gaining. To her, it was just another afternoon, another adventure, another friend made in a world she explored with curiosity and joy. But for everyone else, the encounter had become a story that would be told for generations, a reminder of courage, innocence, and the extraordinary power of two simple words: "It's okay." The quiet street, once ordinary and mundane, had become a stage for something extraordinary. It was a testament to the surprising ways innocence could influence instinct, and how even the smallest voice could command attention and respect from a creature built for protection and vigilance. As Officer Daniels gently guided Rex back toward the patrol car, the dog gave one last glance at Lily, almost as if acknowledging the bond they had formed. And as Lily waved to her new friend, the neighborhood collectively realized they had witnessed a miracle in motion. The sun was beginning its slow descent, painting the suburban street in warm shades of amber and gold. Shadows stretched across the manicured lawns, yet the neighborhood remained captivated by the remarkable scene unfolding in front of them. Lily, the tiny 3-year-old, knelt beside Rex, the massive K9 officer who had gone from tense protector to gentle guardian under her calm, fearless presence. Her small hand rested lightly on the dog's head, stroking his fur with a confidence that seemed almost magical. The air was thick with awe and disbelief, as neighbors whispered to each other, hardly daring to breathe. Officer Daniels remained close, his hand still on Rex's leash, though he no longer felt the familiar tension that usually accompanied such encounters. Rex's body was relaxed, his eyes soft, and his tail wagged slowly, a subtle, almost imperceptible sign of trust and comfort. This was no ordinary K9 response. Rex had been trained to react to potential threats in milliseconds, to protect his handler at all costs. Yet here he was, patiently allowing a tiny child to kneel beside him, touch him, and speak softly without a hint of aggression. Even for a seasoned officer, it was extraordinary. The crowd of neighbors, which had swelled over the course of the afternoon, watched in stunned silence. Some covered their mouths in disbelief, while others whispered prayers of gratitude that the child was safe. Phones and cameras appeared in almost every hand, recording the unprecedented encounter. Everyone knew they were witnessing something remarkable, something that explanation. Parents encouraged their own children to watch closely, hoping they could learn from Lily's bravery and composure. Children's faces lit up with wonder, imitating the gentle strokes and whispered words, as if learning a secret language of trust between humans and animals. Lily, unaware of the fascination she had sparked, continued to interact with Rex with the innocence only a 3-year-old could possess. "It's okay," she repeated softly, her voice steady and melodic. Each repetition seemed to further reinforce the dog's calm demeanor. Rex, responding to the tone and rhythm of her voice, leaned closer, resting his massive head on her lap. The gentle pressure of his presence against her tiny frame did not frighten her. Instead, it seemed to comfort her, and her giggles echoed across the street like chimes in the breeze. The neighbors exchanged amazed glances, realizing that this was more than luck. It was a moment of pure, unspoken connection. Officer Daniels spoke quietly to the onlookers, his voice filled with awe. "He's never done that before," he said, gesturing toward Rex. "Rex is trained for vigilance, for responding to threats. I've worked with him for years, and he's never allowed someone, especially a child, to approach him like this. But Lily, she's extraordinary." The words rippled through the crowd. Adults whispered to each other, repeating them as if saying them aloud would help them understand. How could a child so small, so seemingly ordinary, command the trust and respect of a creature trained for alertness, strength, and protection? The atmosphere shifted completely. Fear, which had gripped the neighborhood only moments before, dissipated entirely, replaced by admiration and wonder. Neighbors slowly began to smile, their voices soft as they whispered encouragement to Lily. "Good girl," someone said. "She's amazing," another added. Children from nearby yards edged closer, wanting to see the gentle giant that now seemed more like a companion than a trained officer. Parents encouraged their children to mimic the calm tone, the soft touch, and the bravery Lily had displayed, realizing that courage sometimes comes in the smallest packages. Then something even more remarkable happened. Rex shifted slightly, moving closer to Lily, his massive paws brushing against the warm pavement as he lowered his body to a more relaxed position. His tail wagged slowly, rhythmically, almost like a heartbeat of trust. Lily patted him gently, her fingers running along his thick fur, and whispered once more, "It's okay." The dog closed his eyes briefly, a soft sigh escaping his throat, almost as if acknowledging her bravery. The crowd gasped, moved to tears by the unlikely bond forming between child and K9. It was a connection that no human command could have forced, a bond that could only be nurtured through instinct, trust, and calm courage. Officer Daniels allowed himself a rare smile. He had trained countless K9s, handled numerous tense situations, and faced more dangerous scenarios than most could imagine. But nothing in his career had prepared him for this. A 3-year-old girl influencing the behavior of a fully grown, highly trained police dog. He gently guided Rex to sit beside Lily, allowing her to pat him more freely. The dog leaned into her touch, his massive head resting lightly against her lap. It was as if Rex had accepted her as an equal, a partner in this extraordinary moment. The crowd, sensing the rare magic of the encounter, began to murmur softly, almost reverently. Phones and cameras continued to capture every second, the footage destined to circulate far beyond. Neighbors whispered to each other, marveling at the display. "She's amazing," one said. "I can't believe it," another replied. Parents encouraged their children to watch closely, hoping to instill lessons of bravery, empathy, and communication. This was more than a story of a child and a dog. It was a living lesson in courage and connection that would ripple far beyond the street where it happened. Lily, entirely unaware of the attention she had garnered, continued to play her small role. She giggled when Rex nudged her bunny with his nose, her tiny hand stroking his fur gently. Her calm demeanor, her fearless approach, and the repetition of 2 simple words had transformed the dog's behavior completely. The sight was almost surreal, an ordinary suburban street bathed in golden light, a tiny child kneeling beside a massive police dog, and neighbors witnessing a miracle in motion. For some, it was difficult to reconcile the simplicity of her actions with the profound effect they had on Rex. The wind shifted slightly, rustling the trees above and carrying with it the faint scent of spring flowers. Birds chirped overhead, seemingly acknowledging the unusual peace settling over the street. Lily whispered again, "It's okay," and the dog's eyes softened further. He nudged her gently with his nose, resting his massive head once more on her lap. Officer Daniels, standing a few steps back, allowed himself a moment of quiet reflection. In his entire career, he had never witnessed such a seamless blend of trust, courage, and instinct. It was a reminder that sometimes the smallest gestures, spoken with confidence and sincerity, could create extraordinary outcomes. The scene began to attract more attention as neighbors emerged from their homes, drawn by the murmurs and the incredible sight unfolding before them. Children from across the street ran toward the scene, eager to witness the gentle giant that had been tamed not by commands, but by the courage of a tiny girl. Adults conversed quietly, expressing disbelief and admiration, each word carrying a mix of relief and astonishment. What had begun as a routine afternoon had transformed into an event that would be remembered, shared, and celebrated for years to come. Even as the sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across the street, Lily remained kneeling beside Rex, her small hand stroking his fur with gentle confidence. The dog, once tense and alert, now sat patiently, a model of calm obedience and trust. The crowd, once gripped by fear, now watched in reverent silence, amazed at the power of innocence, courage, and unspoken understanding. Officer Daniels finally spoke, his voice carrying softly over the awed whispers. This is something I will never forget. Not in all my years of service have I seen anything like it. Lily's mother, now standing beside her, couldn't stop herself from tears of relief and pride. She had witnessed her daughter's bravery firsthand, and yet even she could not fully comprehend the depth of what had just occurred. A child so small, so innocent, had faced a massive, highly trained K9 and calmed him with nothing but 2 words, a gentle hand and an unshakable sense of fearlessness. For everyone present, it was more than astonishing. It was miraculous. By the time the sun had dipped lower behind the rooftops of the quiet suburban street had transformed into something extraordinary. Word of the encounter between 3-year-old Lily and Rex, the K9 officer, had spread rapidly through the neighborhood. Families gathered in their yards, children pressed against fences, and neighbors whispered stories to those who hadn't yet witnessed the incredible scene. Everyone wanted to see for themselves how a tiny, fearless child had calmed a massive, highly trained police dog, and the sight continued to astonish all who were present. Even Officer Daniels, experienced and unflappable, couldn't hide the awe in his eyes. Rex, sitting obediently beside Lily, was calm in a way he had never been before. His massive frame relaxed entirely, the alert tension gone, replaced by a serene awareness that seemed almost conscious. He allowed Lily to stroke his fur, pat his head, and even gently tug at his ears, all without a hint of agitation or fear. It was an extraordinary moment of mutual trust, and Daniels couldn't help but reflect on the rare, instinctual bond forming before him. Neighbors, initially frozen in fear, began to whisper among themselves, their voices tinged with wonder and disbelief. Some cried softly, moved by the gentle interaction. Others exchanged glances as if trying to process what they were witnessing. Children who had been playing in yards moments before ran over to see the gentle giant. "Is that really Rex?" one boy asked, eyes wide. "I thought he'd bite," another exclaimed. Adults chuckled nervously, still holding younger children close. It was as if the neighborhood itself had been transformed, caught between the mundane rhythm of suburban life and a moment of awe that would linger for years. As Lily continued to interact with Rex, a neighbor ran inside to grab her phone, quickly recording video footage of the scene. Within minutes, the clip was shared across private messages and social media platforms. Viewers marveled at the calm confidence of a tiny 3-year-old and the unusual, gentle response of a powerful K9 officer. The video quickly went viral, spreading far beyond, reaching audiences across the state and soon the country. Comments poured in, "Incredible bravery from a 3-year-old. How did she do that? This is magical, look at the dog." Lily's mother, still catching her breath, looked at the crowd and then at her daughter. Relief washed over her face, but she also felt a deep sense of pride. Her little girl, so small and so innocent, had achieved what no one had expected. She had calmed a creature trained to detect and respond to threats, simply through calmness and courage. She couldn't stop smiling as she watched her daughter giggle at Rex's gentle nudge, the dog leaning into her tiny hand as though understanding her intentions completely. Officer Daniels, recognizing the attention the incident was attracting, gently guided Rex back toward the patrol car but allowed him to remain close to Lily. "He's never behaved like this before," Daniels said quietly to a neighbor who had approached. "Rex is trained to react to any threat immediately, but something about her, her calmness, her fearlessness, has changed him. I've never seen anything like it." His voice carried a mixture of pride, disbelief, and admiration. For Daniels, it was more than just a remarkable moment. It was a rare instance in his career where instinct and innocence converged in a way that explanation. Soon, news crews arrived, alerted by social media posts and neighborhood chatter. Cameras were set up, microphones pointed at Officer Daniels, neighbors, and eventually Lily herself. Reporters asked questions about the encounter, filming footage of the gentle interaction between child and dog. "I've never seen a 3-year-old interact with a police K9 like this," a reporter remarked, speaking into the camera. "It's as if the child and the dog communicate in some language beyond our understanding." Viewers watching at home were captivated, many sharing the footage immediately, spreading Lily's story to an audience numbering in the millions. Experts weighed in, analyzing the viral video with a mixture of scientific curiosity and awe. Animal behaviorists commented that dogs could sense emotions and respond to calm, confident cues, but rarely in such extreme cases, especially when faced with a child. K9 trainers noted that Rex's behavior was virtually unprecedented. One trainer said, "Even the most well-trained dogs would typically respond to a child's approach with caution." To see a child so young command trust is remarkable. It's a perfect example of calm influencing instinct. The story quickly became a phenomenon, drawing attention from families, educators, and animal lovers nationwide. Meanwhile, Lily, completely unaware of her viral fame, continued to play with Rex. Her tiny hands patted the dog's head and stroked his back, her soft giggles blending with the whispers of the crowd. She reached for her stuffed bunny, holding it up to Rex, and the dog responded gently, nudging the toy as though inviting play. The crowd watched, captivated by the unassuming bravery of the little girl and the gentle, instinctive obedience of the dog. Every movement, every gesture, told a story of trust and connection far deeper than anyone could have anticipated. Parents who had initially feared for their children now saw an important lesson unfold before them. Courage, they realized, could come in the smallest of packages. Calmness could command even the most disciplined creature. And trust, sometimes, required no training at all. Children watching were mesmerized, imitating Lily's gentle movements, learning without words that bravery was not the absence of fear, but the presence of confidence, calmness, and compassion. For a brief, golden afternoon, the neighborhood became both classroom and theater, teaching lessons that no textbook could convey. Officer Daniels, now calm but deeply reflective, spoke with the reporters. "I've worked with Rex for 5 years," he explained. "He's trained to protect, to detect threats, to act immediately. But something about Lily's calmness, her bravery, and her innocence has completely changed him. This is not just training. It's instinct meeting instinct, courage meeting courage. I will never forget this day, and I think Rex will remember it too." The reporters nodded, filming every word, knowing they were documenting something extraordinary. Even after the sun had fully set, the story continued to spread. Social media posts, news outlets picked up the story, and families across the country shared videos of Lily and Rex. Comments praised her bravery, celebrated the unusual bond, and marveled at the power of a child's presence to influence even a highly trained K9. For Lily's parents, it was overwhelming, a mixture of pride, disbelief, and joy. Their little girl, unknowingly, had become a symbol of courage, empathy, and the extraordinary connections possible between humans and animals. And through it all, Lily remained blissfully unaware of her growing fame. She giggled, played, and whispered her gentle words to Rex. She was simply enjoying her afternoon, forming a bond with her new friend. Yet in doing so, she had captivated an entire neighborhood, inspired experts, and become a viral sensation. What began as an ordinary day and had transformed into an extraordinary tale, a story of courage, trust, and the extraordinary bond between a child and a dog that would be remembered, shared, and cherished for years to come. By the next morning was buzzing with excitement. The quiet suburban street, which had only yesterday been a typical, peaceful neighborhood, had transformed into the epicenter of an extraordinary story. The viral video of 3-year-old Lily calming Rex, the highly trained K9, had captured the hearts of millions online. News crews, social media influencers, and curious onlookers were streaming in, all eager to witness the remarkable bond that had formed between a tiny child and a massive, disciplined dog. The community, which had been stunned just the day before, was now embracing the newfound attention with pride and wonder. Lily, of course, remained blissfully unaware of the attention she had garnered. She giggled as she patted Rex's massive head, holding her worn stuffed bunny clothes. The dog, once tense and alert, now sat obediently beside her, his tail swishing lazily against the sidewalk. Officer Daniels, kneeling nearby, allowed Lily to interact freely with his partner, marveling at the scene. He had handled countless high-pressure situations with Rex over the years, but nothing had prepared him for the calm influence a 3-year-old could wield. Each day in service had taught him about instinct, training, and vigilance, but Lily had introduced him to something entirely new, the power of innocence and courage. Experts in animal behavior and child psychology were quick to weigh in after watching the viral video. Dr. Martinez, a renowned K9 behavioral specialist, explained in an interview, "What we're seeing is extraordinary. Rex is a highly trained officer, conditioned to react instantly to perceived threats. Yet Lily's calm presence, her steady voice, and fearless approach have his instincts. This isn't just training, it's an innate connection that transcends species." Dogs are sensitive to human emotions, and Rex has clearly recognized her as safe, even admirable. This is rare, almost unprecedented behavior. Meanwhile, educators and psychologists praise the story as a lesson in courage and empathy. Social media posts highlighted the extraordinary bravery of a 3-year-old and emphasized the power of calmness and trust. Many parents shared the video with their children, encouraging discussions about bravery, kindness, and connecting with animals respectfully. The narrative was no longer just about a K9 and a toddler. It had become a symbol of hope, inspiration, and the extraordinary potential of children when allowed to express fearlessness and compassion. The local community began organizing around the event. Neighbors who had watched the encounter unfold the previous day gathered together to celebrate Lily's bravery and recognize the bond she had formed with Rex. Community leaders proposed a small ceremony at the local park, inviting the family, Officer Daniels, and Rex to honor the remarkable story. The streets buzzed with anticipation, and local schools encouraged students to participate, sharing lessons about courage, empathy, and responsibility. The story, once limited to the viral clip, had become an opportunity for the community to come together and learn from Lily's example. Lily's parents, though still overwhelmed by the attention, encouraged her natural interactions with Rex. Her mother watched, amazement and pride written across her face, as Lily whispered softly to the dog, "It's okay," and patted his head. Each repetition of the words reinforced the gentle bond that had formed overnight. The child's instinctive understanding of trust and fearlessness was extraordinary. Even Officer Daniels, normally reserved and analytical, found himself observing with awe. Rex, responding to the child's presence, had become gentler, calmer, and more relaxed than he had ever been in training exercises. As the day progressed, reporters and camera crews arrived to cover the story firsthand. Interviews were conducted with neighbors who had witnessed the encounter, with parents reflecting on the courage of a 3-year-old. "I couldn't believe my eyes," said Mrs. Henderson, who lived across the street. "The dog, usually so alert and protective, just sat there with her, and she was completely fearless. It was beautiful to watch." Each retelling emphasized the remarkable nature of the encounter, capturing the hearts of viewers across the nation. Animal behavior experts returned to analyze the viral footage, noting details that had gone unnoticed during the initial coverage. They observed the slow, deliberate changes in Rex's posture, his body language shifting from rigid tension to calm obedience in response to Lily's words and gestures. Dogs are capable of sensing emotions, Dr. Martinez explained, but for a dog trained for protection to respond so positively to a child's influence is extraordinary. It's an example of what we call emotional resonance. Rex has recognized her calmness and mirrored it. This is a rare and remarkable display of instinctive empathy. Meanwhile, Lily's world remained wonderfully ordinary. She ran her fingers through Rex's fur, giggling as he nudged her stuffed bunny gently. Her tiny voice repeated the simple, powerful phrase, "It's okay," each time seeming to strengthen their bond. Even as cameras clicked and microphones recorded, she remained blissfully unaware of her growing fame. For her, it was simply a game, a playtime with a new friend. The simplicity of her approach, patting, whispering, showing confidence without fear, was exactly what had captured the attention of millions around the world. The story also began to inspire local initiatives. Schools and centers incorporated discussions about courage, empathy, and communication with animals into their lesson plans. Families shared stories about how Lily's bravery encouraged their own children to interact with pets more gently and confidently. Parents and teachers marveled at the power of a child's influence, realizing that even the smallest voices can have a profound impact on those around them. Lily's encounter had sparked a wave of inspiration, teaching lessons far beyond what anyone had anticipated. Officer Daniels, reflecting on the events, remarked to a local reporter, "I've been a K-9 officer for over a decade and I've seen a lot. But what Lily did, it's rare, almost unheard of. Her fearlessness, her calmness, and her pure approach created a bond I couldn't have trained into Rex in years. She's a reminder that sometimes courage doesn't come from size, skill, or experience. It comes from being confident, compassionate, and unafraid to face the unknown." Even as evening fell, casting a golden glow over, the story continued to ripple outward. Social media posts were shared millions of times, news segments covered the encounter, and experts continued to analyze the footage. Yet for Lily, it remained a simple story of friendship and trust. She didn't understand the headlines, the viral posts, or the awe her bravery had inspired. She simply giggled as Rex nudged her hand, whispered, "It's okay," and held her stuffed bunny close. The bond was pure, unforced, and extraordinary, a reminder that sometimes the simplest gestures can create the most profound impact. By the end of the day, it was clear that the encounter had left an indelible mark. Once an ordinary suburban community had witnessed something extraordinary. The union of innocence and instinct, courage and trust, a 3-year-old girl and a massive police dog forming a connection that would inspire people far beyond the streets of their neighborhood. The story of Lily and Rex would be shared, remembered, and celebrated for years to come, a testament to the power of bravery, empathy, and the unspoken bonds that can exist between humans and animals. The morning after the viral sensation awoke to a world that seemed transformed. Headlines splashed across news websites, television screens, and social media feeds. 3-year-old calms police K-9 million stunned. Toddler shows courage beyond her years. Tiny hero tames trained dog with 2 words. The story of Lily and Rex had gone global overnight, capturing hearts and sparking conversations about courage, innocence, and the extraordinary bond between humans and animals. People who had never set foot in were watching, inspired, and in some cases, moved to tears by the display of bravery from someone so small. Meanwhile, in itself, the neighborhood remained abuzz. Families gathered at windows and front yards, children reenacting the gentle interactions between Lily and Rex, neighbors sharing whispered awe and laughter. Officer Daniels and Rex were still present, the dog now fully relaxed, obedient, and calm under Lily's gentle touch. For Rex, the world had shifted in subtle ways. He no longer approached strangers with the same intensity, seemingly aware that the courage and innocence he had witnessed in a tiny child held a profound power he hadn't understood before. Experts began analyzing the viral video in greater detail, offering insights that fascinated viewers. Dr. Martinez, speaking on a morning news segment, explained, "Rex's behavior is rare, even for highly trained police dogs. Dogs are incredibly sensitive to human emotions, and in this case, Lily's calmness and fearlessness created a ripple effect, essentially overriding his instinctual responses. This is known as emotional resonance, where the emotional state of one being profoundly influences another. Lily didn't just face Rex, she changed his behavior in a meaningful, lasting way. At home, Lily's parents struggled to process the sudden attention. Their daughter, once a quiet toddler, was now the focus of international fascination. Reporters called, social media messages flooded in, and curious onlookers appeared at the end of their driveway. Despite the chaos, Lily remained blissfully unaware. She continued to play with Rex, patting his massive head and whispering, "It's okay," completely absorbed in the moment. The simplicity of her actions, her courage, her calmness, had created a ripple effect far larger than any parent could have anticipated. The community responded in kind. Local schools incorporated the story into lessons about bravery, empathy, and trust, encouraging children to emulate Lily's approach when interacting with animals. The local library set up a display featuring books about courage, children, and animals, inspired by her actions. Once an ordinary suburban neighborhood had become a symbol of hope and inspiration. The bond between a toddler and a dog had become a story that transcended geography, resonating with people across ages, professions, and continents. Yet the story's growing fame brought unexpected challenges. Some skeptics questioned the safety of the encounter, suggesting that a child interacting with a trained police dog was reckless. Others debated whether Rex's behavior was truly influenced by Lily or simply coincidence. Officer Daniels calmly addressed these concerns in interviews, explaining, "Rex is fully trained, highly disciplined, and experienced. What you see is not chance." The dog responded to her calm presence and fearless approach. "It's a rare event, but it's real. Lily didn't provoke him, she guided him with trust and bravery." His words reassured many, but the debate only fueled public interest. News crews began returning to follow up, interviewing neighbors, parents, and local officials. Children posed shyly in front of cameras, mimicking Lily's gentle gestures, while adults recounted their astonishment at witnessing the encounter. Each retelling emphasized the extraordinary nature of the bond. A tiny child, fearless and calm, interacting with a massive, trained police dog without fear. It was a story that combined elements of wonder, bravery, and emotional resonance, appealing to audiences hungry for inspiration in a complicated world. For Lily, life continued much as it had before the viral fame. She giggled as Rex nudged her bunny, whispered softly to him, and explored the world around her with boundless curiosity. The news and social media attention were invisible to her, and that was part of what made the story so extraordinary. She wasn't seeking recognition or praise. Her courage and calmness were simply innate, expressed naturally in her interactions with Rex. The authenticity of her behavior, untouched by awareness of fame, only amplified the awe experienced by those watching. Officer Daniels observed quietly as Lily continued her play. He noted subtle shifts in Rex's demeanor. He now displayed more patience with children, softer responses to strangers, and an overall sense of calmness that hadn't been present before the encounter. It was clear that the bond formed with Lily had a lasting impact, one that extended beyond the viral moment. In a career full of high-stakes operations and intense training exercises, Daniels had never witnessed anything like this, a testament to the power of calm courage, trust, and genuine connection. As the day progressed, became a hub of activity. Social media posts, news outlets picked up follow-up stories, and animal behaviorists analyzed the footage in depth. Yet for all the attention, the story remained deeply human and profoundly simple. A child, a dog, and two words that bridged the gap between instinct and courage. Audiences everywhere were captivated not only by the spectacle, but by the emotional resonance. The idea that even the smallest among us could inspire profound change in a creature built for vigilance and protection. Lily's parents reflected on the whirlwind of attention. They were proud, grateful, and amazed, but more than anything, they were relieved that the encounter had remained safe and positive. "She's just our little girl," her mother said softly. "We knew she was brave, but we had no idea she could influence a trained police dog like this." Her father nodded, still in awe, recognizing that their child's innate courage had become a beacon of hope and inspiration far beyond their quiet neighborhood. As evening fell, casting a warm glow over, the day's events began to settle. Rex lay obediently beside Lily, his head resting gently on her lap, while she giggled and whispered, "It's okay." The neighborhood, though quieter now, remained filled with the sense of wonder and pride that had gripped them since the encounter began. Families continued to discuss the lessons of courage, empathy, and trust, inspired by the extraordinary bond between a 3-year-old and a trained K9. Across the country, viewers continued to share and discuss the story. Messages poured in from teachers, parents, and animal lovers, many describing how the video had inspired children to be braver, gentler, and more compassionate. Experts continued to analyze the phenomenon, and local authorities praised Officer Daniels and Rex for their professionalism while acknowledging the undeniable impact of Lily's calm, fearless presence. It was a story that would not fade quickly, destined to inspire, educate, and captivate audiences for years to come. By the end of the day, it was clear that Lily's encounter with Rex was more than a viral sensation. It was a powerful reminder of the potential of courage, trust, and innocence. A tiny child had faced a massive, trained K9 and created a bond that expectations, inspired millions, and reshaped the way people viewed the relationship between humans and animals. And for Lily, it remained a simple, joyful playtime with her friend Rex, an ordinary adventure made extraordinary by bravery, calmness, and the quiet power of two small words. "It's okay." The days following the viral sensation were a whirlwind for the family. Once a quiet suburb had become a focal point for national news outlets, social media influencers, and curious visitors, all eager to witness the extraordinary bond between Lily, a fearless 3-year-old, and Rex, the trained K9 officer. Yet for Lily, life remained delightfully simple. She continued to giggle and play, whispering her familiar words, "It's okay," as Rex nudged her bunny gently or rested his massive head against her lap. To her, it was just another day of friendship, another game with her gentle giant companion. Despite her young age, Lily had become a symbol of courage, calmness, and empathy. Parents across the country showed the video to their children, encouraging them to learn from her fearlessness and her gentle way of communicating. Schools incorporated the story into lessons about bravery, compassion, and responsibility, inspiring students to approach animals, and even people, with understanding and respect. Psychologists praised Lily's innate ability to influence behavior through calm confidence, noting that even adults often struggle to maintain such composure in the face of intimidation. Officer Daniels, reflecting on the events, realized the profound effect the encounter had not only on Rex but on himself and the community. "I've been a K9 officer for years," he said during an interview, "and I've seen situations that demand precision, discipline, and control. But Lily reminded me that courage isn't about size or strength. It's about presence, calmness, and heart. Her bravery has changed Rex, the neighborhood, and even me in ways I didn't expect." His words were echoed by countless viewers, who marveled at how a tiny child could inspire so much courage and admiration. Local authorities recognized the uniqueness of the incident. The police department issued a statement praising Lily's courage and Officer Daniels' professionalism. They emphasized the importance of safety while acknowledging the extraordinary circumstances. This story is a testament to trust, training, and the incredible bond that can exist between humans and animals, the statement read. While no child should ever approach a K9 without supervision, this event demonstrates the rare, remarkable impact a child's calmness and bravery can have. Experts continued to analyze Rex's behavior, noting that the dog had shown a significant shift in temperament. Dr. Martinez, the renowned K9 behavioral specialist, explained, "Rex's response to Lily is nearly unprecedented. Dogs are capable of sensing emotions, but this level of influence from a child is extraordinary. Her calm, fearless approach has created a bond that will likely have a lasting effect on his behavior, even in high-pressure situations." This is a perfect example of how emotional resonance can override instinct, even in highly trained animals. Meanwhile, the family navigated the attention with grace and humility. Lily's parents focused on keeping her routine intact: meals, naps, playtime, while gently managing the influx of visitors and media requests. They wanted to preserve her innocence, ensuring that she remained unaware of the fame she had achieved. "She's just our little girl," her mother said softly. "To her, Rex is a friend and this is just playtime. We don't want her to feel pressure from all the attention. She's perfect just as she is." The neighborhood itself embraced the story as a source of pride. Schools, libraries, and community centers held events celebrating courage, empathy, and trust, all inspired by Lily's bravery. Children drew pictures of Lily and Rex, families recounted their astonishment, and the story became a symbol of what could be achieved with patience, understanding, and fearlessness. Local authorities even organized a small community gathering, honoring Lily and Rex for their impact on the neighborhood. It was a celebration not only of bravery, but of connection, learning, and compassion. As weeks passed, the story continued to inspire people around the world. Social media posts, news outlets revisited the footage, and educators and psychologists referenced the event in lectures and workshops. Lily, still blissfully unaware of her influence, continued her simple routine, whispering "it's okay" to Rex during playtime. Her courage had created ripples far beyond, teaching lessons about empathy, bravery, and the extraordinary power of calm confidence. Children who had never seen the video were learning from it, adults were reflecting on it, and experts were studying it. Even Rex, the trained K9, had changed. His calm demeanor persisted, a reflection of the trust and respect formed during that remarkable afternoon. Officer Daniels noted subtle differences in his behavior during patrols and training exercises. Rex responded more gently to new handlers, displayed increased patience, and showed a remarkable sensitivity to the emotions of others. The bond with Lily had created a lasting, positive shift in a dog who had previously been defined by discipline and instinct. It was a living testament to the power of trust and the unique influence a child can have on the world around her. Months later, the family reflected on the journey that had begun with a simple, fearless act. Lily, now celebrated as a symbol of courage, continued to approach life with the same innocence, curiosity, and bravery that had captured hearts worldwide. She laughed, played, and whispered to Rex, her tiny hands patting his massive head with confidence and joy. The community remained inspired, the neighborhood more connected, and the story continued to serve as a reminder that extraordinary acts can come from the most unexpected sources. Even as the story faded from headlines, its impact endured. Remained proud of its tiny hero, families continued to draw lessons from her bravery, and children everywhere were reminded that courage comes in many forms. Lily's quiet heroism had created a ripple effect, influencing attitudes, inspiring actions, and teaching timeless lessons about empathy, trust, and fearlessness. And through it all, Lily remained herself, a 3-year-old girl, a little friend, a gentle presence whispering, "It's okay," and changing the world in ways both extraordinary and simple. The final scene of this remarkable story unfolded one calm evening. The sun dipped low, casting golden light across as Lily and Rex sat together in the yard. She giggled, holding her bunny, whispering softly and patting Rex's head. The dog rested beside her, calm, obedient, and trusting. The neighborhood was quiet, reflecting on the lessons learned from this tiny child who had faced a trained police dog with nothing but courage and kindness. It was a moment of serenity, a testament to the enduring power of bravery, empathy, and connection. Lily, small in stature but monumental in impact, had changed not only the behavior of a K-9 officer, but also the hearts and minds of everyone who witnessed her courage. Her story, now part of history, would be shared for generations, a reminder that bravery does not depend on size, that trust can overcome instinct, and that sometimes the most extraordinary acts come from the most ordinary beings. Rex, Officer Daniels, and the neighborhood had been touched by something rare and profound, a living example of courage, calm, and connection. And so life continued, slightly brighter, slightly braver, and infinitely more inspired, thanks to a tiny girl who faced a police dog, said two simple words, and left the world forever changed.